So we'll go to we'll finish up with Limerick's victory over Wexford, 220 to 15 points. I mean, that was a fairly comprehensive victory for a finish. You might go through what Darragh Egan had to say.
Yeah, very comprehensive. I think Darragh Egan's kind of, by the sounds of it, he's just happy to see the finish line of the league and get maybe a good block of work in with what he has and try and rehabilitate the many players that he has. Like it's a fairly frightening injury list. But he just said, Darragh Egan said, he insisted the break is absolutely ideal for us. So they're not playing until April 22nd against Galway, because we took the field today without 9 of the team that played last year's quarter-final against Clare. We've 11 lads injured at present. Some of them are in a massive race against time. So if we had another knockout game next weekend, we could be just trying to plug holes. And he's just talking about Matthew O'Hanlon has a very significant ankle injury. Liam McGovern has a knee injury. Conor McDonald has a calf strain. Damien Reck has a hamstring injury. Damien O'Keefe has a bad dead leg. And Liam Ryan hasn't played since he severed a ligament at the top of his finger against Galway on February 4th. He's definitely going to be under pressure to make the Galway game. That sounds very painful and very messy. So like there's not really much you can do with that. Do you know what I mean? If you're severing ligaments is pretty serious, and you're looking at real long-term damage if you're to play with something like that, and obviously the pain associated with trying to play with something like that. But I'd say if we can get Damien Reck back, McDonald back, D. O'Keefe back, McGovern back, at least that will bolster the ranks somewhat. Doesn't sound like Matthew O'Hanlon will make the first round, and it's Liam Ryan to be under pressure too. And
like they scored just 5 points from play. That doesn't augur well for the championship, does it?
No, definitely not. And listen, that's been the struggle, even with Lee Chin on the field. They've struggled to find, a lot of scores. I think Ian Carty came through from defence and scored 2 points yesterday. But they're not going to put up big totals. It doesn't look like they're going to put big totals. If you take away, would say even did they end up with 3 goals against Clare in that quarter final last year? Take those goals out. They're not the 223s and 224s that the Limericks of these world will score in big knockout games. It doesn't look like they're going to be able to get up to those type of tallies.
Yeah, Lee Chin scored 11 points, 10 of those were frees. Ian Carty with a couple, Conor Hearn and Jack O'Connor, they also got a point each. Pow K says Wexford only a handful of scores for play. Can't see anything coming from them this year. Wexford at damage limitation yesterday, says P-Well 74. Certainly give us more detail in terms of your thoughts on it, lads, if you were at that match. And it doesn't get easy for them in terms of their first match. So it's a month away. April 22nd, Galway against Wexford at Pearse Stadium. So they have to cross the country. Big fixture. There's going to be a big home crowd there behind Henry Shefflin and his team. Geez, they would have liked a slightly, I suppose, more winnable game, at the start of the championship. It's not that they can't beat Galway, but God, you need everyone, don't you?
It's a fair trek when you say it, isn't it? From the southeast of the country all the way over to the west and going over right onto the coast as well. It is a fair trek. Obviously, Galway made the same trek last year to go down and play in Wexford. But that kind of draw last year against Galway, not that it set Wexford up, because they obviously drew Westmeath in the middle of it as well. But it was probably a bit of a surprise result, having bounced back from... Listen, right, they conceded 5 goals against Waterford in that semi-final last year and bounced back pretty well, you'd have to say, by getting that draw against Galway. And then they were, they drew Westmeath, and you're thinking, like, it doesn't look like they have much of a chance going down to Nolan Park here and to get a massive result. So they've bounced back from adversity really well, not just in recent years, but under the current manager that they have. So you'd probably be foolish enough to say that they wouldn't do it again. Can they have a big impact on the latter stages of the All-Ireland? Very, very unlikely, though.
Yeah, they have a lovely slick jersey though with OurGameSupporters.com. So go there and you can get 15% off with the promo code OurGame. It was notable that Kyle Hayes barnstormed up from wing back to score a goal yet again. And I'm interested to see next weekend, who do Tipperary put on that wing? Now, the team won't be as left wide open at the back this time, and there's probably more energy in the team these days. But he's somebody who you can't allow to make those Jack McCaffrey type bursts that can really put your team on the back foot. But again, he's doing it. Teams need to plan for him. I suppose Michael Breen was put there a couple of years ago, and other than that one time when Breen wasn't in the locality for that brilliant goal, he did a great job in him. So it shows that perhaps it can be done if you can find the right marker. Maybe Seamus Kennedy might be somebody who'd be put in that neck of the woods. He's very, very fast and athletic. But that will definitely be a feature I'll be looking at for next weekend.
Definitely. He was obviously back from suspension. Cathal O'Neill was brilliant for that goal. He went down the left flank, flicked a lovely ball across, and whatever chance he have of stopping Hayes, he was in full flow when he picked up the ball. You have no chance of stopping him. If you're going to stop him, it's probably in that first couple of yards before he builds up a head of steam. And it will be interesting. Kennedy, physicality wise, he probably maybe wouldn't have the same bulk as Hayes, but he's very, very athletic player. And I think crucially for that type of a role, he's used to playing a defensive role, and he's going to be a defensive forward. So he's probably the most likely. Would Alan Tynan do a stint on him maybe as well? It's going to be interesting to see. But it's amazing. Like you're talking about planning for Galan or planning for Keane Lynch or planning for X, Y, or Z. You do have to plan for the two opposing. You have to plan for the whole half back line, really, because Burns had hurt you from distance. He actually got forward to score a point off his weaker side yesterday, which I hadn't seen, not from distance. Then you have Hannon, how he can control things, and then you have Hayes, how he can just raid forward. So yeah, I'd imagine there'd be a fair bit of thought put into it. And listen, Cahill put a lot of thought into it when he was at Waterford as well. Remember he played Prunty out wing back last year on Garrod Hegarty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and even near the Daily he was doing well on Galan before he had to go off. So he's not averse to trying something different. I would say Jack Fagan going back wing back was with the sole idea of tracking Morrissey or Hegarty. And I wouldn't say I'm that far wrong on that. So
No.
It'd be interesting to see does Cahill try something a little different, or does he? Maybe I'd say he's probably thinking with Seamus Kennedy. He's probably thinking long term. This fella can offer me a fair bit going forward, but he can offer me a lot going back as well.